Welcome back to the Tip of the Ice-Burgh podcast. We are 12 days? Is it 12 days away from the opening of the Pittsburgh Penguins 2023-24 season? Sidney Crosby versus Connor Bedard, the Penguins versus the Blackhawks. That'll be the second game of the entire NHL season, obviously leading off with Tampa Bay Lightning versus the Nashville Predators at 5 o'clock that afternoon. And then at 7:30, Pens, Blackhawks at the Paint Bucket. It's going to be an interesting game. But the guy that we're expecting, and I would say if you're going to try to find a line on it, I would put your money on this to start a net for the Pittsburgh Penguins on their opening game, is Tristan Jarry.
Mm-hmm.
He's beginning a new 5-year contract this season. Last year, he went 24, 13, and 7 with a .909 save percentage, a 2.90 goals against average, and 7.4 goals save above expected. Not his best showing. The numbers did dip a little bit, but still respectable numbers for Tristan Jarry in a year where he dealt with a hip injury throughout the entirety of the season. So, Horwat, the question is, what is Tristan Jarry's ceiling this season? Are you willing to take a chance on saying he's going to be a Vezina finalist like I did last season?
It's hard to say because so many goalies just continue to get better. And I mean, let's be real. Guys that should have been in the conversation or maybe should have even won the award last year just weren't even nominated. It doesn't help that Linus Ullmark had an absolutely unexpected year and one that he likely won't even come close to again. So it's hard to really say because UC Saros should have been in the conversation, wasn't even nominated.
Mm-hmm.
Connor Hellebuck is going to come in hungry. Vasilevsky is going to come in hungrier considering how his season ended. There's goalies that are going to push for a Vezina, but as for Jarry himself, the ceiling is a career year, right? Really?
Yeah.
The ceiling is just the best number he's put up in a single season so far. Does he reach it? It's hard to say. But I bet it's definitely possible. I would say that's the ceiling for him. We know he's going to come in healthier. We know he's going to come in rejuvenated with a new deal and looking to prove a ton of people wrong. I still hear all the time people discussing that. How could Kyle bring Tristan Jarry back after his issues? Look at the free agent market. Who else was he going to get from the free agent market? Well, he could have traded for someone. He was focused on trading for Erik Karlsson.
Well, who got traded? Did Gibson get traded? That too.
Exactly. None of them got traded. And when it comes to, you could have traded for someone. Okay, well, Kyle Dubas came into the Penguins organization looking for Karlsson. He said that was part of the interview process for him. He said, "This is what I want to do with our defense." So if that was his goal, if that was Kyle Dubas' goal for the offseason was acquiring Karlsson, well, you can't then acquire a goalie because what pieces do you have left? Because at that point, you're sacrificing your Karlsson trade. You just have to look at and figure out which one is going to help your team improve more. Karlsson would over a new goalie, especially if you're able just to re-sign the goalie you had.
Yeah.
So he was the best option available free agent-wise going forward. The ceiling is a career year. We will get the numbers on that in a minute while I throw my headphones around.
Yeah, while you're looking at that, I'll obviously give my response. Now, the Vezina thing I'm joking about, and last year I did predict. I said, you know what, he's going to finish as a Vezina finalist. That was my prediction last season, and it did not come to pass. It did not at all. And I'm not going to predict it this year. I'm not silly enough to predict that whenever he had the season that he had, but I will say I wouldn't be surprised if he went out there and put up Vezina caliber numbers, simply because of really the team in front of him is miles better than it's been in a couple of seasons. I think this is the best team the Penguins have had since the 2020-21 season, when they had, Brandon Tanev, Mike Matheson, Jared McCann was having a really good season that year. Kasperi Kapanen scored, I believe, 30 points in 40 games that season. That was the season that we expected, Kapanen's going to be a great piece of this team coming back because he had 30 and 40. That team was very, very good. And obviously that team also won the weird East Division. That team played in a division where you only played 7 teams throughout the entire season. And then we saw what happened when they got to the postseason against the New York Islanders. But, the season that Tristan Jarry had that year and the year after that were really solid years. I wouldn't be surprised if he was in the Vezina conversation at some point this season. I'm not going to predict it. I'm not going to put the expectation out there, but if he goes out and does it, I'm not going to be like, wow, this is unbelievable. I couldn't see this coming, because I could potentially see him being at that level, especially if the team in front of him comes together the way that Kyle Dubas is really hoping that it does.
Yeah, looking at the numbers for those seasons, I mean, the 2019-20, the year where Matt Murray was still in the organization, he was 20-12-1. That's a pretty solid number. He had his career high in save percentage with a .921. That's pretty good, especially for 33 games. But then that following year, where it was the lockdown, we're only playing a handful of games season, with he was 25-9-3. Yeah, that's a good year. Didn't receive any Vezina votes, but you know what? I forget what every other goalie did that year. But he was still at 909. That could have been part of it. That's not phenomenal. That's not outstanding. That's not the 942 he put up the next year. The 919.
I was about to say, what? When did he do that?
2.42 goals against average. You see where I got the 42 from. They're sitting right next to each other, because that year, the 21-22 year, you could consider his career year. 34-18-6, a .919, and a 242. Those are solid numbers. Those were Vezina worthy numbers. It's understandable why you would go into last season thinking and predicting Vezina style numbers.
Yeah.
Now injuries got in the way, some inconsistencies got in the way. I mean, am I saying there's no reason why he couldn't go back to it? Kind of. There's not any reason why he couldn't go back to it.
Yeah.
So if he's able to continue his trend and just take 22-23 as we're going to pull that one out and ignore it, because things happen in careers, right? Yeah. He's going to have a long career ahead of him. He's only going into his part of his eighth season. Sometimes you just look at a goalie's career stat line and just go, we pull this one out, we got a Hall of Fame goalie. So you got plenty of room to grow still. He's got more hunger than ever. Absolutely agree with you that he could easily put up those kind of numbers again. And if I'm saying a career year is the ceiling, he should put up these kind of numbers again.
Well, you mentioned a career year, and you mentioned a couple seasons ago where he set a career high in 34 wins. I guess my question would be, do you think he passes that this season?
I very much think he needs to. He's got to flirt with 40 to make this team really good, because defensively it's gotten better. But what kind of lineup did we just talk about? A lineup that has Erik Karlsson and Crystal Tank sharing a right side. As great as that is, the defense is not. That's not the same amount of defense being put up in front of them as like what the Colorado Avalanche are able to throw out every year, or the Carolina Hurricanes every season. The bottom six got a lot better defensively. That's for certain as well. But a healthy Tristan Jarry, your best defenseman, is your goalie. So there's plenty of room for him to continue to show his skill that no one ever doubted. Flirting with 40 is what he's going to need to do to really push this team over the edge. And if he gets around that number, forget about it. This seems to be a top 3 team.
Well, I mean, the Pittsburgh Penguins in 2021-22, when he got those 34 wins, they were the 3rd seed in the Metropolitan Division. There's a chance that he doesn't reach the 30. Like, he could not reach the 34 wins, and the Penguins still be a playoff team, and him still have numbers. And that's mainly because I think the one sabotage factor here that kind of throws a wrench into it is the backup goaltender situation. How much do you trust Alex Nedeljkovic? How much do the Penguins trust Alex Nedeljkovic? And thirdly, how many games is he going to play? How much work are they willing to put on Tristan Jarry's shoulders after seeing the last 2 seasons that he got hurt at the end of the 1 year? And, the following season, he gets hurt all season long. And he wasn't even available back the season before that in the postseason when he got hurt by getting, Anders Lee fall on him. So the question does arise, like, where does the line get drawn with the backup goaltender? How much work does Alex Nedeljkovic get this season? He's looked good so far in camp, but I think that's the only sabotage factor. I would say, once we get to our season predictions, I'm assuming Tristan Jarry wins is on that list. I'd probably go higher than 34. I would say that he probably sets a career high, But I don't know. The Alex Nedeljkovic factor is something that we're going to have to keep an eye on, especially because I think he's looked good in camp. Talking about the backup goaltender, with him, and then obviously Magnus Hellberg is a new goaltender as well. That's going to be the number 3 heading into the season. Are you more or less comfortable with the backup goalie situation this year than you were last season?
I'm far more comfortable with it this year. That's without doubt. Sure, Alex Nedeljkovic has a lot of rebranding to do for himself, a lot of rebuilding to what he was before. But we're in that change of scenery stage with a lot of guys on this team, and he's a big part of it. The team seems to really like him already. They've put him out there for 3 games, and it should be pretty two already. I think we've played 3. Yeah. He's played in 2 of them. It'll be interesting to see where he's able to grow, and he seems to be running away with the number 2 position in the goalie race. I need to re-listen to what Mike Sullivan said about goalies and their and utilizing the depth. Rob Rossi asked him something about how goaltending has changed because, number 1 goalies used to play like nearly 60, 70 games almost in a season. Things have changed a lot since then. Part of Sullivan's answer was how the Golden Knights just used 4 goalies to win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
Through necessity, but they won with a goalie that you wouldn't expect to be the starter for a Stanley Cup winning team in Adin Hill. So there's a lot of reason to believe that Tristan Jarry won't play. He got his career high in wins in 34 whenever he played 58 games. There's a lot of reason to believe he won't play 58, considering what you're bringing up here, the Alex Nedeljkovic factor. Yeah. Maybe they roll 3 sometimes. Maybe they give Hellberg a lot of calls. Who knows how that works? It'll really, like I said before, I'm comfortable with the backup goalie situation on this team. DeSmith was good, but in my eyes, the backup goalie position is one that you filter through a lot. It's just the way it is in this league and in this sport. You filter through those guys. And DeSmith stayed here for a lot longer than maybe he should have. Now we have a couple new faces in, both on 1-year deals that, at least for Nedeljkovic, he wants to prove himself and possibly move on and be a starter again somewhere. That's probably his main goal, right? He's here to really rebuild his career and proving to be a starter again.
Yeah.
If we're able to get him back to his level, suddenly Jarry's not playing 58. Maybe he's down to 50.
Jeez,
he only played 47 last year and he was injured.
58 games, and he got injured at the end of last season. That season when he played 58, he got injured at the end of that season and missed. I think the last 7 games straight. He would have played 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah, I forgot about that too.
He would have been 62, 63 games that season. That's ridiculous. Casey DeSmith had a horrible season that year, at least especially to start, which is why Tristan Jarry was just absolute workhorse early in that season. But 58 games with an injury at the end of the year that cost you 10% of the season. It's that's crazy. But no, Alex Nedeljkovic, he's looked good so far. He was shelled in Detroit. He was absolutely shelled against the Detroit Red Wings. And you expect that whenever they put out a lot of their A squad and you put out majority B squad, that's going to happen. Guys like Dylan Larkin, Alex DeBrincat, they're going to take advantage. So he looked pretty good. There were a couple of goals that he might have wanted back. I think 2 of the 4 goals he probably would have wanted back. But at the same time, it's preseason. It's time to get sharper. And, I think he's looked good in that game and certainly looked good on Sunday. We talked about it on Tuesday's episode that 18 saves on 18 shots, looked sturdy, played the puck well. What more could you ask from him? I thought he looked good on Tuesday as well. And I do have faith and have confidence in Alex Nedeljkovic. He never got his feet underneath him in Detroit those 2 years. And hopefully coming to Pittsburgh with a defined role as a backup, he's able to get his feet underneath him and recapture some of that magic that he had in Carolina 3 seasons ago. And the Penguins get a good tandem because like you mentioned, you need more than one goaltender to win in this league. You can't just have a workhorse unless their name is, Andrei Vasilevsky. It's going to be an interesting season for a lot of different reasons. And Alex Nedeljkovic is certainly going to be one of those names on that list, but